So I'm going to start recording, but this is going to stay kind of like exclusively. I'm thinking about using it for like when somebody signs their first distributor almost, or like when they turn themselves executive. We'll kind of see what I decide to do with it, but it is going to be exclusive. And I'm so excited to have Allie on here, you guys. Allie is like one of my very best friends in this business. We connected back in 2017, I think it was. We were both just still diamonds at that point, right? And we have very different personalities, which is great. We have totally different stories, which is even better because it just goes to show that it doesn't matter. You can be successful in this business no matter what. And so the other weekend she texted me and we started talking about leadership, and she was just speaking my language about everything that I've been feeling, and I wanted her to bring that to you. So Allie, I'll just kind of have you start with kind of like I said, just give us like you don't have to like go in full detail, but just like a little synopsis of your story leading up to where you are right now. And then we'll kind of go from there.
Okay, awesome. So hi guys, I'm Allie O'Neill. So I started this business almost 3 years ago. I was teaching full-time at a daycare. I was working part-time at Costco, and I was babysitting for like 15 different families. And I was just like so tired all of the time. I've always been a hard worker, and I was that person in college that like I refused to be broke. So I don't have that typical like broke college kid story, or like I couldn't pay my bills and stuff like that, because I worked so much to make sure I never had to deal with that. But one day I came home from work and I literally couldn't even like lift my feet to walk like up the stairs. Like I would sleep on the couch. And I went to my parents and I was like, I was crying. I was like, I'm just so tired. Like I'm 23 years old and I don't have a life. Like I just work. And my parents were like, then like quit one of your jobs. And like it never dawned on me to like quit one of my jobs, because I was like, no, like I'm making so much money. But my parents were like, what good is that money if you like can't do anything with it? Like, yeah, like you're 23 years old, you got to live your life. So finally I quit Costco. And then at the same time I was applying to grad school. So it's probably like a week after I quit Costco, and I was like, what did I do? Like, I need money. Like, this is ridiculous. And so I saw this girl on Instagram, and I went to college with her. So I reached out to her, see what she did. At the time, it was BOGO Raps, and it was one of those things like text opportunity. And I was like that person that actually texted opportunity to her. And then like a week later, I joined. I was just like, all right, what's the worst that happens? I spend $99. Get products. I didn't even know what wraps were. I didn't know any of the products that we sold. Everyone told me not to do it, but I was like, I need money. Like, I need to be able to pay for grad school. So all I really wanted was $200, $300 a month to help pay for the books. Like, I was totally fine taking out student loans. Like, that didn't bother me. It was like the little extra things that add up really quick. I remember when I joined, I asked them, I was like, I can just get customers, right? Like, I don't have to sign distributors. And they were like, well, no, but why would you want to do that? And I just think this is really important, because when I started this business, I didn't have the belief in myself to lead other people. So I didn't want to sign distributors because I didn't believe I was capable of training them or teaching them or leading them. I just wanted customers and to do my own thing, and that was fine. Quickly, I kind of realized that's not how this business works. So I started obviously like annoying distributors, asking for help, whatever. 4 months in, I went Ruby, and I was working 60 hours a week at the daycare because we were so understaffed, going in on weekends, still babysitting, all that stuff. 8 months in, I was actually teaching at a public school at this time, still babysitting, and it was actually the month I started grad school too. I promoted to Diamond. And then I decided not to renew my teaching contract. I went double in July of, I get my years all mixed up. So I went Diamond in March, and then that July it was on my 2-year anniversary that I went double. And then come September, I went triple. Last September. So I was moving from Massachusetts to Florida, driving across the country, like totally in a new area. Moved out I already had my own apartment, but that is the same month that I promoted to triple. So I noticed that in my story, my busiest months have always been when I promote. Like the month that I went from daycare to public school, I promoted to Ruby. The month I started grad school, I promoted to Diamond. July, I got my very first apartment, I promoted. You know what I mean? So I think it's funny when people use time as an excuse, because I've noticed whenever I'm the busiest is whenever my business is the most successful. But yeah, now here we are almost 3 years later, pushing for press. Definitely a lot has happened in those 3 years that obviously I'm going to touch upon with just leadership, belief, lessons learned, and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Awesome. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited for you. That's so awesome. And yeah, I'm the same way. Like I was telling something the other day, I was like, it's great that I do this full time. Like I love it. I love the freedom of time, but it was almost easier for me when I had work and I had school, because it was like, oh, like I have stuff to do. So that means I got to get my stuff done. Like if I don't get it done, and it doesn't get done. These days I'm like, oh, it's 10 a.m. Like I got time, whatever. So I totally agree with that like busy people are successful people in this business, because they got to wake up early and you got to stay up late to get your stuff done. So I know that I kind of like sent you a rambling voice message of like what I wanted you to go over. So kind of talk to me about, so I love that you mentioned this. So kind of talk to me about this idea of like believing that you were even capable of being a leader, because I feel like even after we've signed a few distributors, like maybe we're charted for executive or charted for Ruby, there's still sometimes those little pieces of like, can I really do this? Like, can I really be a leader? So kind of talk to us about how you maybe developed that belief or kind of strengthened your leadership like in the beginning. And then if you want to flow that into like what we kind of talked about a couple weeks ago with like where you're at now in your leadership and how you've just continued to like do that leadership development.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, when I started, I had a really slow start too, guys. Like I would get on every single Zoom, but I would have my microphone off and I would have my camera off. Like my enroller and like my like Diamond upline and stuff would try to call me and I would ignore the phone calls. I would not get on FaceTimes. Like I was the most shy person you could ever come across. Like I would message people and if they said no, I would block them and start hyperventilating. Like that's how bad I was. Okay, so if you think that it's scary to message or it's hard to get out of your comfort zone, I'm the first person to say I'm right there with you, but it's 100% worth it, because that is where you grow. So it's just one of those things, the more I did it, the more comfortable I got. And for me, the biggest thing was I didn't try any of the products before. I didn't even know what this business was about. I just saw money. So I was like, how am I supposed to have someone do this with me when I don't know what it's not even what it's capable of, but what it's about? So once I started using the products, that was huge. Like from the moment I joined, I have had an auto shipment running and I have never shut it off. When I first joined, I switched products every single month. So I had results for everything. I tried the reps, I tried hair, skin, and nails, I tried greens. And then all of a sudden, it was so easy for me to talk to people because I was like, oh, well, I love this, so I can tell you how much I love it. And then I don't feel like I'm selling it to you. I'm just literally sharing something that has helped me so much. And it literally just within using the products, my confidence grew. So I was like, my hair grew 4 inches in 2 months. Holy crap, like you want to grow your hair? Like my hair literally used to fall out in clumps. Like it was disgusting, I'll admit it. But then I started using hair, skin, and nails and I was like, this stuff is as close to a miracle as you can get. And then I could sell hair, skin, nails to a wall. So that was part of my confidence, was I just didn't know what I didn't know, right? But then once I started using the products, I was like, oh, like everyone needs this. And then once I got my first paycheck was $56. And I remember being like, oh my gosh, guys, like I made $56 from my phone. Are you serious? Like, do you know how much time I used to spend just scrolling through Instagram? Like I was that person that I would wake up in the morning and scroll back to the last picture that I saw before I went to bed and creep everyone, because it used to be chronological back then. And like, that's how I'd spend the first 15 minutes of my day, or like my breaks on lunch, or like, and I was like, wait, so now I can like sort of do the same thing, but like talk to a couple people and like make money. Like I was just mind blown because it's so different than what we're used to. You know what I mean? And I think just that, seeing like, okay, if I can do this, if shy little Allie can just talk to people. And I loved it because I hate the expression like hiding behind your phone, but I could hide behind my phone, right? Like I didn't have to go up to someone and be like, hey, do you want to like host a party for me? Or like, even to this day, I tried it once and I almost threw up. Like it was really bad. I am 100% social media because face to face, like even like Jesse's grandpa was like asking me about products and I was like, yeah, but like, can you message me on Facebook? Like, I don't know why. I just like am really weird with face to face. Like I'm just awkward. That's who I am. So I just embraced it at this point. But you know what I mean? So that's where a lot of my confidence came from, was just like using the products and seeing that like, wow, like I made real money. And then I was like, if I can do this, other people can. And the biggest thing was I knew that I had a support system behind me. You know, my upline was texting me every single day. My upline's upline. I was in so many group chats and I was like, wow, people want to help me succeed. And they just always reassured me like, hey, when you enroll a distributor, we're here for you. Like, you're not on your own. You know, they just come into this group with us. And that made me feel better too, because like I knew, like obviously, yeah, you need to learn, but the only way you're going to learn is by doing. And you just kind of need to accept that the first couple distributors you enroll, you're not going to be the best leader you can be. Like you're not. Like it just happens because you need to grow. But that's why you need to use your resources and use your upline and use your team pages and your group chats and stuff like that, because other people can pick up from where you're lacking. And even to this day, as a triple diamond, I still have other people that have different strengths than me. And that's really important. Like you need to learn your strengths and run with it. And obviously you want to try to grow your weaknesses, but there are some things that like I'm not a creative person. So like I will never be creative. That's not something that you can just like make happen. You know what I mean? So when it comes to making stories and stuff, it's hard for me. So do you know what I do? I screenshot other people's stories and I basically copy them, but I'll change the design so it's my own. But like I can't come up with that stuff on my own, and I've accepted that. Instead of spending hours trying to make the perfect story, I take someone else's talent and I then use my own. You know what I mean? So it's okay to have other people help you. And I think that's really important. Like I'll go to other leaders, because I don't know if you guys do the color personality, but I'm super yellow and green, right? So sometimes I go to other leaders who are super red and I'm like, can you help me talk to this person, because I'm too nice and I tend to let people walk all over me and I need help standing up for myself. You know what I mean? And then sometimes they'll come to me and be like, can you help me tone down this message a little bit, because I know I'm coming in too hot. You know what I mean? And that's okay. And just seeing how other people interact with other people, you learn how to interact with other people. It's literally that. Like you're never going to be a perfect leader. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. So take that off the table right now. The second I realized that and I stopped comparing my leadership to other leadership, I allowed myself to grow. And I just think that's really important, because for a while I was trying to be my upline, or, you know, I was trying to be Cheyenne Knox or Emily Worsing or Cassie, and I lost myself in it. And I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know where my strengths were. And that's crazy, right? Because then all of a sudden I'm like, wait, like I'm not them. Like, and you just need to remember that, like, yes, take tips and tricks from people, but always stay true to you, because people join your team to work with you. If they wanted to join with someone else, they would join with someone else. So remember that, like, you are special, and that's what's so amazing about you, and that's what's going to attract people. So now, like, I'm like, even in my posts, like I'm super quirky and awkward, and I don't worry about posting the perfect picture with the perfect preset. And like, if you look at my story, half the time I'm like in my pajamas and like my dog is like sitting on my head and I'm like, ha ha ha, like my office for the day. But people relate to that, and it shows them that I'm real and I'm not this like Instagram model, because they relate to real. And now I'm getting more people coming to me from my posts, because their Instagrams might not be perfect, but my Instagram isn't intimidating to them, because they're like, oh, it's just a regular person. I mean, obviously, like I post clear pictures, bright pictures. Like, I'm not saying like, go hide in your closet and take a picture. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying don't like stress too much about it, because
I just think that, like, you just hit the nail on the head, which is just people relate to real. And I think that it goes for your potentials, but I think it also goes for the new distributors that you're signing up. Like, we all, like, all of us on this Zoom, like, as, like, you're talking about comparing yourself, like, as a leader to other leaders. So it's like, remember what it was like when you were brand new and you were like, look, like, you got added to these team pages and there was all of these, like, incredible people, and you were like, how am I even supposed to be like that? How am I even supposed to do what they do? And so if you sign a new distributor and they think they have to be just like you, that's going to be so intimidating to them. They're not even going to give themselves a shot. And that's one of the reasons why developing this group of leaders that I have on here with us right now has been so important to me, because I never for 1 second want any of the new girls coming onto the team to think they have to be like me. Like, I don't want anyone to be like, oh, well, I have to do what Hope does. It's like, no, you don't have to do what I do. You need to do what you do, and you need to cultivate that and, like, take tips, take trips, you know, all of those kinds of things, but don't, like, I don't know, don't overestimate the power of just being you when you're dealing with leadership. And she's right. I mean, Allie isn't in our pages or anything, so she doesn't know, but we do have a team page and a team chat and layered leadership chats and, like, a leaders chat and an opportunity page. Like, use your tools, you guys. No one is expecting you to go start your own team page or start your own team chat. Like, use me and your other leaders all that you already have, so that we can show you how we do things and you can just, like, grow off of that. So I love that. So talk to me about, like, repeat exactly what you said to me 2 weeks ago. I'm just kidding. But you know what I'm saying? Like, so you've been a Triple Diamond for a little while now. You've been pushing for Prez, but kind of what you related to me was that you kind of got into this place where you felt like you were always just constantly rebuilding instead of moving forward. And you kind of had this aha moment that it's all about developing new leaders, like, under you. So kind of talk to me about that, and then kind of tell me, like, how you've been doing that the past few weeks.
Okay, so something that's huge, and guys, like, I think it's funny, if you listen to, like, Ashley Mayfield, this is always her answer to everything, and I'm agreeing, so it drove me crazy, because I'm the type of person I need to know exactly how to do something, and I don't like broad answers, and I'm about to be that person, so I'm sorry, but it's literally self-development. 1000% self-development. And so I'm going to, like, take a step back. When we started this, and I was a psych major, guys, like, I literally took classes on this, and I, like, didn't believe it. I'm like, just because I manifest doesn't mean it's going to happen. And now I'm like, you need to manifest everything. Like, it's true. Like, there's a reason that all the top income earners talk about manifesting and self-development and affirmations and all of these things. But when we start, self-development is so broad, right? We throw on a YouTube video. We just put on any audiobook that someone said was great, you know, like, we're not intentional with it, and we're just like, well, I'm self-developing, like, and then you're going to plateau, okay? Like, you're going to be like, oh, wow, like, I'm starting to believe in myself, like, this is great. But the problem is you're not building your leadership. And this quote just hit me so hard. And it said, just because you're a good distributor doesn't mean you're a good leader. And that was, like, honestly, like, a slap in the face to me, because I was like, wow, like, that's so true. So many people think, like, well, I'm a mass enroller. Well, like, I, you know, always have people joining my team. Like, why isn't my team doing the same? And yes, you always need to lead by example. But if you're not teaching your team to do the same exact thing, they don't just magically learn, right? Like, you didn't just, like, wake up one day and you're like, I'm a mass enroller, this is great. Like, you had to go through steps to get there. And I think sometimes, especially if you've been in the business for a while, you kind of forget that newbies don't come in knowing everything, and you almost forget what it was like when you first started. So I always try to take a step back, and I'm like, okay, like, what did I do when I first started? You know, what helped me grow and get to where I am? And just something that's been huge is intentionally self-developing. So instead of just typing in, like, oh, motivational video on YouTube in the morning, I'm putting on leadership videos. I'm listening to things about the color personality. I'm listening to things, learning about, like, growing your own self-worth. I'm trying to really get into my faith. I don't know if any of you, everyone has different beliefs, so I don't do that. But like for me personally, I feel like that was something that was missing in my business, and I'm trying to that's something I'm working on right now, is trying to figure out faith and all of that stuff, you know? But it's just being intentional. Like, what is something that is holding you back right now? What is something you struggle with? Do you struggle in your belief as a leader? Do you struggle that you're capable of leading other people? Do you struggle that you're capable of $6,000 a month or $2,000 a month or $500 a month? You know what I mean? Like, what is it that's holding you back from getting to where you need to be? And that's the type of self-development you need to be doing. And there is stuff out there for everything, you know, like, are you negative? Are you just getting in your own head? Are you the type of person that gets discouraged very easily? Or are you just not putting in as much work as you think you are? Like, what is it? And you have to dig deep. Like, this stuff is pretty like deep. It's not surface level, which was hard for me too, but I reflect so much. Like, at this point, I know, like, if I wake up and I'm in a certain mood, I know who to listen to and what podcast is going on and like what I need to write in my affirmations to snap out of it, because that's how like in tune I am with myself. And it's just changed everything. And I'm teaching my leaders to do the same. One thing that's been like a huge game changer is this workbook. It's by Denise Walsh. Have you guys done it? She has a journal and a workbook. I like the workbook.
So that's the workbook. So
yeah, and it's just called Design Your Dream Life. So every morning, you read like a short chapter. It's like 2 or 3 pages, and then there's an inner reflection, and then you just like answer questions.
And if you guys are not familiar, Denise Walsh is a black diamond in our company. So this is somebody who's worked her way literally, they've been in for like 8 years or 9 years.
Yeah.
And worked their way to the very, very top of the company. And then she developed this workbook. So that's awesome. And I loved what you said too.
Oops, sorry, what?
Sorry, no, I was going to say, I love what you said too about how like there is personal development for whatever you are personally struggling with. So whether it's like self-limiting beliefs about like money, like there is specific personal development to get you over your like money mindset. There is specific podcasts and things. She's dropping some in the comments right now. Pam Souter, oh my god, Pam Souter's podcast is literally my life. Like, if I need a kick in the butt to like take action, I go listen to Pam Souter. And then I love that you put John Maxwell too. I'm listening to his audiobook right now, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, because like you said, it's leadership specific. It's about specifically leading people, and those are the things that I've been struggling with lately. So I love that. That's awesome. And it's just like, don't be afraid to admit what it is that you're struggling with. Like, don't just try to brush it under the rug. Don't just try to say, I'll just work. I'll just like get over it. Like, no, like pinpoint it, put a name on it. That way, you know what development you need to do to move forward. So you said that you're teaching your team a lot about this. So how are you kind of going about like you said, so you get the self-development and you bring it in to yourself. You're reading, you're listening, you're watching, you're doing workbooks. How are you kind of turning around and expressing it to your team or guiding them on how to do it?
So my biggest thing is just sharing tips with my leaders. And, you know, like if I'm reading the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell, I've listened to that twice now. And guys, like every word that comes out of that man's mouth is gold. Like, I'm doing this certification program thing with him, and I'm doing it with Emily Worsing, and we'll literally just be texting back and forth. Like, did you watch this video? Did you like, in some of this stuff, once you hear it, you're like, wow, that sounds like common sense, but no one thinks of it. And it's just the way he words things just makes sense. And all of a sudden you're like, wow. Like, it literally talks about like, don't bring ducks to eagle school. And it obviously, like, he's not talking about the legit animal, but he's talking about, like, if someone doesn't want to be here, why are you forcing them into a leadership position? You know, if someone only wants to be a ruby, don't put them in a diamond box. Let them be a ruby because that's what they want. You know what I mean? And, like, sometimes we want this so bad for people and we see their potential so much, but you can't fall in love with people's potential. You have to fall in love with their actions. And sometimes they'll get there, but it just takes them a little bit longer. Another thing that I absolutely love that he says is in order to bring people up with you, you have to go down to their level, right? So sometimes we try to stay up here and talk to them like, oh, this, and this, but, like, they don't get it because they're not there yet. So, like, if you're going for diamond and you're helping people go ruby, like, go down to their level, right? Because say someone fell down, like they tripped and they fell. Sorry, it's late. Right? Like, you can't just be like, oh, let me help you up while you're standing, right? Like, you have to bend down and get to their level to bring them back up with you. And I just thought that was so powerful. Like, you have to love people where they're at and see where they're at, and then they're going to grow with you. But if you just, like, are throwing stuff at them and expecting them to just get it, they're not going to absorb it. They're going to get overwhelmed, and that's when people start to shut down and they quit, right? So say you have someone and you know they want this, but their posting just isn't great. Instead of being like, hey, well, you haven't posted in 3 days, be like, hey, let's get a post up today. Or like, hey, I noticed you haven't posted in 3 days. What's going on? Like, are you having trouble coming up with content? Do you need pictures? Like, ask them the right questions, because some people, they just don't know what they don't know yet, you know? And sometimes when you've been doing this, you're like, well, you should just be posting, but they don't know what to post about. So help them. You know, a lot of people struggle with coming up with content. So I'll give them prompts and I'll be like, all right, pick one of these, like, talk about this or this. When you write your captions, send it to me. We can edit it together. And then we literally do it together, right? So instead of me just, like, barking, like, commands at them or whatever, I'm, like, getting to the root of it. Because if you're just like, well, you haven't posted in 3 days, like, let's go, that's not helping them. Then they're just going to post because you told them to post, but their heart isn't in it. And if your heart's not in it, then, like, you're not going to go far. You know, this is the type of business.
No, well, you can't write a life post. You can't write somebody's life posts for them, ever, period. Like, you just can't. Like, I have to write life posts for me. Allie has to write life posts for Allie. Like, I could not sit down and be like, hey guys, like, I'm Allie O'Neill. Like, let me tell you my story. Like, it doesn't come across well. And it goes back to that entire idea of, like, if you want to develop leaders on your team, you need to develop people who are confident in who they are, which means they have to be developing their own content in this business. So as much as you can say, hey, here's a task for you today, let's post about the coffee, like, here's a script, like, and that's great in the beginning because it does give them that specific direction. I love what you said, which is just asking the right questions. Like, instead of saying, hey, did you post today? Say, go to their profile, look, you know they didn't post today, and say, hey girl, I saw you haven't made a post yet today. Let's make one together. Let's write one together. Send me what you've got and we'll edit it. And just remembering how it felt to have absolutely no idea what you were doing.
Yeah, because something that I used to do is I would go to my newbies and just be like, hey, how's it going? They'd be like, great. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let me know if you need any help. They don't know what they need help on. And all of a sudden I'm like, hey, I noticed you only have 200 followers and it's been 2 months, and like, you haven't been sending me screenshots, and they're like, screenshots of what? Like, you know what I mean? Like, they think they're doing okay, but really they don't know what needs, and then they're mad because they're like, well, why aren't I Ruby? Why aren't I enrolling? And it's because you never got specific. You didn't say, how many people did you follow today? How many messages did you get out? My favorite is to be like, how's messaging going? Great, I'm getting so many out. So many to them might be 20 messages. Right? Because they don't realize you should be sending 80 or whatever you tell them. We do 80 to 100 a day. You know what I mean? And it's because it's new. So they don't realize how easy you can fit 100 messages in a day. And 100 sounds like a lot. But when you break it down, like, it takes maybe 10 minutes total out of your day. You know what I mean? But they're like, yeah, I followed like 50 new people. And I'm like, that's great. And you never want to just be like, oh, well, you should be doing more, because that's discouraging. I always encourage them. So if they're like, oh, I sent out 50 messages, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you, because I know how like weird it can be to just start adding random people on social media. I'm like, but what I do is I follow 50 people an hour. Like, do you think you can do that? Or every other hour or something? And if someone's saying that they're messaging 30 people a day, I'll be like, all right, today let's shoot for 50. And then the next day I'll be like, wasn't that so easy? Let's shoot for 70. And I work them up to it. And this goes back to just knowing their personality too. Because if someone's red, I'll be like, all right, send 100 today. And they're like, I'm on it. But if someone's yellow, I'm going to work my way up to it, because they're going to get overwhelmed. They're going to get discouraged, and they're going to feel like they're failing, you know? So I always come from a place of encouragement, you know? And this is another thing that's just huge with newbies. Shout them out for everything. Like, it doesn't matter if they're not enrolling. I have a girl that's been in this business for 2 months and has gotten 3 LCs, but the only reason she has not quit yet is because I am constantly shouting her out. So I'm like, oh my God, like, I'm so proud of her. She's making her own stories. Like, oh my gosh, she's sending me so many screenshots. Her business is about to explode. You know, oh my gosh, like, she's following like crazy. Like, every little thing. They don't know what they don't know. I had someone who enrolled 6 LCs in 48 hours and thought they sucked, pardon my language. And I was like, it took me like a month to get 4 LCs. What do you mean?
I've been talking with my leaders so much about this. Like, this quote, I literally just underlined it like 4 times. They don't know what they don't know, which means they don't know if they're not doing enough, but they also don't know if they're killing it. They have no freaking idea. I just signed up this woman this last week, and she's already enrolled like 7 customers, and I'm local to her, and I met up with her, and she was like, yeah, I've only enrolled 1 customer a day since I got started. I'm like, what? That's incredible. Like, you're a rock star. Like, that's amazing. And so, and then especially giving them that public recognition, like in the group chat, in your group pages, and one-on-one also too, going to them and saying like, I'm proud of you, you're doing a great job. But that public recognition and how good that feels to like go in the group chat and see your leader say like, oh my God, so-and-so is killing it. Like, it just means so much.
And something that's huge with this too, guys, if you see someone shouting someone out, congratulate them, comment on it. It literally takes 5 seconds. I can't tell you how much it breaks my heart when I see someone shouting someone out, and it'll be like seen by 20 people and 1 person commented on it. Think about how you would feel, you know, if you just promoted or you were working so hard and someone's shouting you out and people can't even take the time to say like congrats or like good job or you got this or something. You know what I mean? And
I literally type whoop whoop with freaking exclamation points.
Yeah, I do a GIF or GIF, whatever.
Exactly, or just a bunch of like freaking excited emojis. Like, it literally takes, I love that you said that. It literally takes 20 seconds.
On the first day of every month, I do morning power hours every single day. I take 5 to 10 minutes every, like in the morning, right after the end of the month, and I go and I comment on every single person that promoted. Because that's such a great feeling, and like it's just one of those things, people love recognition. And then something else I got from a Zoom recently that I loved was you might have people on your team that are killing it and you're like, oh my gosh, like this girl is the diamond to my double, or like, oh my gosh, she's the triple to my prez, or like whatever it may be. And it's just like you just said, Hope, when's the last time you told them that? Like sometimes we forget to shout out our leaders too, because we're like, oh, well, they know what they're doing. Like, yeah, they're doing what they're supposed to be. But it's still really nice to get that recognition. And I texted one of my girls, she's a diamond, she's pushing so hard. And I was like, listen, I just want you to know how much I appreciate you. And she quit and came back. And I'm like, I'm so thankful that you decided to give this business another chance. Like you mean so much to me, and I am just so proud of everything you've accomplished. And like we talk all the time, like, oh my gosh, I love you, like, hi, you're the best. But like for me to like actually write out like, I'm really proud of you and you're killing it, she got so emotional and was just like, oh, she's like, are you serious? And I was like, of course I'm serious. And it just meant the world to her. And again, it took maybe 45 seconds out of my day to do that. But and I'm super yellow, so I'm super cheesy and I love stuff like that. But I don't know many people who wouldn't appreciate a nice comment. You know what I mean?
And that's like, this is like my other thing I've been talking, like just feeling so hard is like, it's like a quote about like making friends or whatever, is like you'll get more flies with honey than with vinegar. But like, I think about it in terms of like getting your team to work. Like if you are looking at your team and you see all these people and you're like, I want them to work, like I want them to enroll, I want to go Ruby, I want to go Diamond, you are going to get so much more connection, relation, and like them wanting to work from, hey girl, I just wanted to take a second and tell you how much I appreciate you. Like that is, they are more likely to go send messages after that than you going and saying, hey, so I noticed that like you haven't really been doing what you're supposed to be doing, and like it's fine, but like I just wanted to let you know that, you know, if you want to be successful in this business, that you're gonna have to put in some work. Like, and it just you're gonna get the same result without having to be that tough love leader.
And the other thing is that then when you go and you have to give them tough love, they're going to absorb it better, and they're not going to get defensive because they know it's coming from a place of love. If you relate it back to, I'm assuming most of you work, think about how you feel at work with your boss. Does your boss appreciate you? I know for me, like I worked at Costco, and me and my manager, like my manager would always say, like, I wish I had 10 of you. Like, you're one of my hardest workers. Like, oh my gosh, like, thank you so much. Like, she was so appreciative of me. And guys, like, Costco wasn't my career. And I say all the time how much I miss working with them, because I knew that I was appreciated there, and it made me want to work harder. But the people that just felt like they were another employee, you know, like, okay, go make some pizza, they didn't want to be there. Like they did the bare minimum. You know what I mean? And it was the same thing like when I was a teacher. When I was teaching at the daycare, my boss was like super appreciative of me. Same thing. And like would do these little things like on the back of our pay stub. She would write us nice notes that's just like, and she would pick something out that we did that week. And it would literally be like, I love the way that you handled talking to so-and-so's mom this week. Like, you're awesome. Like, so personal and awesome, right? And then I went to this public school where my principal didn't even know my name, and I was like, hello, like you should probably know my name. But that, like, you know what I mean? Like that didn't make me want to work hard. That didn't make me want to go to all the professional development. That didn't make me want to do like go above and beyond. You know what I mean? So think about it in that sense too, and how different that makes you work. And it's just like Hope said, when you treat your team that way, that's when they're going to show up. There's so many times that I wanted to quit. And I was like, I'm not quitting on my upline. I'm not quitting on my team. And it was because we built those relationships, and I knew we were all relying on each other, and we had those relationships and stuff like that. So that, I think that is something that is very often overlooked, but one of the most important things that we do.
Yeah, I completely agree with all of that. And I think that once again, if you're not feeling, if you are so in your own angry leader or frustrated leader or management mode, whatever, that you can't even get yourself to like shout people out, like if all you're feeling is frustration, then you got to go back to the very, very first thing that Allie said, which is just that self-development. Why are you feeling so frustrated? What is it that's holding you back? What self-limiting beliefs are you carrying around in your head, in your heart, that are stopping you from being able to be this leader that is positive and that's caring and that's genuine? And I love that you talked about color personalities and how you're super yellow green. So I was very, very, very red when I started this business, and I've had this total like transmutation into like, I'm way more of an orange now. Like I still have red tendencies, but I'm way more of a yellow now than I was before. And when I was a red, you guys, like there's probably only like 2 people on this Zoom from when I was a red, because guess what? I was mean, and I was like, well, I'm just a red, so it's fine. Do not use your ambition. Do not use how passionate you are to be like mean to your team. Like you just can't do that. And if you're feeling that way, then you need to do your personal development, and you need to figure out how to how to transmute yourself and be more team oriented.
Also, just because you said that, I want to throw this in real quick because I was guilty of it. Like I'd be like, well, I'm green. Like, that's just how my brain works because I need, like, I love spreadsheets. I love calendars. I love exact details. Like, that's how my brain works, right? But I would use it as an excuse. I'd be like, well, I'm green, so that's just how it is. Sorry. Or I'd be like, well, I'm yellow, so it's really hard for me. And, like, it is. But part of being a leader is taking out the colors that you need. Like, sometimes I need to pull my red out a little bit more. And it's not easy for me. I'm not trying to be like, oh, I can just be red like that. But my team needs me to be red sometimes. And sometimes I can be my full yellow. Sometimes my green is super helpful. Sometimes somehow I need to pull out that 2% of blue. But you know what I mean? Like being a leader is learning how to, I don't want to say like change your personalities, but bring out different colors so that everyone on your team can benefit and learn from you. And something that was huge was if you baby your team, you'll have a baby team. And that is exactly what I did because I'm like, well, I'm yellow. Like, I don't want to tell them they're doing something wrong or like, so they would come to me with excuses and I'd be like, it's okay. And then they'd be like, well, why have I been in this business 6 months and I'm executive? And it's because I would always just be like, it's okay. So I learned it's not okay to tell them that it's okay, you know, and with being yellow, the biggest thing is you want to help people, right? And someone put into perspective to me and they said, you're not helping them when you're babying them. And that literally changed it like that. So now when people come to me, I can bring out my red and you know, and it's just really important. Don't use like your color as your excuse for why you're where you are either. You need to learn how to shift it.
Absolutely. And I just think it's, you're saying babying, we say hand holding a lot. Like we say like, you're like, I'm holding their hand. I'm holding their hand too much. Like I'm literally leading them step by step. And it's like you holding their hand and doing every single one, like every single thing for them. Like it doesn't develop, like good leaders develop good leaders, right? Like that's the point of doing all of this. When you're shouting people out, when you're making them feel confident, when you're giving them that tough love so that they know what they need to do, it's so that they can turn around and begin to do the same thing for their team because that's what you've modeled for them. That's the beauty of this business, you guys. Being a leader isn't actually about having like in network marketing, being a leader isn't actually about having like a quote unquote like following. Being a leader is about making more leaders who make more leaders. Like that's the duplication. That's how you go diamond. That's how you go double. That's how you go triple. And that's why I wanted to do this Zoom is because I want you guys to understand that when you do your own leadership development, you are giving the rest of the team under you permission to do that as well. And saying, this is what we do. We develop leaders.
And then super quick, I just want to give you some like specific things that I've been doing that's been helping me. So the very first thing, with even just talking to people, I always send voice messages. Texting is like not a thing anymore. Even if they don't have an iPhone, I go into the voice memo app and I record and I send it to them that way because when they hear your voice, they automatically trust you more. Right when they sign up, I get them on a FaceTime. And I'll literally just be like, hey, just wanted to like introduce myself. Like, I'm so excited for you. Like, when's a good time to like FaceTime to go over everything? Right? And it's super quick, but that way they already feel more comfortable because how many people hit submit and freak out? I was that person, right? But then if they already see a welcoming face, they're like, oh, okay, like she's got me, we're good. Within 24 hours, I get on a FaceTime with them and I go over everything. And I tell them, I'm about to throw a lot at you. This might be overwhelming. Whatever you remember, you remember. Whatever you don't, that's okay. We'll go over again. I don't expect you to remember everything, but I'd rather give it to you all. So that way you just, like, you've at least heard it, you know? So I already tell them, like, I'm about to overwhelm you, and that's okay. You know what I mean? Because I want them to know all about posting and messaging and all this stuff. And usually we're only on for 15, 20 minutes. It's not like an hour-long thing. And I let them ask questions. They usually don't have any, but I always, always, always emphasize sending screenshots. So that's huge. And then texting them every single day. I'm very like scatterbrained, forgetful. So if I'm not organized with it, then like it's gone. I have an alarm that goes off at 9 a.m. every single morning and I text all of my newbies. In the first couple days, I'm very on them. Like, here's a post for you, but I tell them where to find things. So I'll be like, oh, here's a story you can post. This is where I got it from. Or like, oh, here's some leaders you can follow. And I tell them, I'm like, you can screenshot their stories. I'm like, always check to see if their name's on it. And I say, just add your name to it or add a GIF or something like that, so it's not the same exact story and it doesn't mess up people's algorithms. But until you learn, and I tell them, look at the way that they're posting. Like, if something resonates with you, it's okay to take it. Just make sure you change it to sound like you and make sense to you. Because that's how I learned how to post, by looking at how other people posted. I mean, and this is all within like the first week or two. If they have a question about like, oh, what products are vegan, I answer their question and I say, this is where I found the answer. So I'll say like, okay, like, yeah, this is vegan, but if you ever have a question like that, you can just go to myitworksproductcoach.com, type in vegan, and it will give you all of the vegan products. That way, you don't have to wait for me to answer. You can find it yourself. If they're asking prices for a product, I tell them the answer, and I always give them the script that I use to give pricing, so they know to give retail and the discounted price. And I'm like, this is where I found it. It's right on your website. I suggest taking 5-10 minutes one day and just scrolling through, seeing where products are, whatever. And I walk them through everything step by step, but I give them the resources on where to find it, you know, or like if I'm sending them scripts on a product, I'm like, here, save this in your notes, add it to text replacement, because text replacement is going to save your life. I'm like, in this way, like the next time someone asks weight loss, you know what questions to ask, you know what to recommend, you know, and you don't have to wait on me. And then you can just send me screenshots when like someone says something that's like not like out of the ordinary, you know what I mean? And so I do handhold them in the beginning, but I slowly, in teaching, we always called it scaffolding. And I feel like this is where I get it from, is like my teaching background. But then so I slowly give them more responsibility and me less responsibility, but I'm giving them the resources. Because if I don't give them the resources, I can't get mad that 2 months later they don't know where to find the price, or they don't know how to find the ingredients, because I never taught them how to get there. You know, and I feel like that's where angry leadership comes from, because you're like, well, they should know, they should blah, 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 but you never taught them, you never showed them. So how are they supposed to know? They don't just magically know Product Coach exists when no one talks about it, or they don't know how to check Tree Viewer or whatever it may be. You know what I mean? So I do handhold them, but I make sure that I'm also giving them resources. And then if they've asked me something like 5 times, I won't give them the answer. I'll be like, this is where you can find it. Because what happens if one day I'm busy? Are you just like not going to answer your potential? Like 3 months later, are you just not going to know? You know what I mean? Like you need to learn a sense of independence as well. But I'm always here for you, but not like,
well, there's always going to be questions that are out of the like normal, right? Like we all have conversations, we all have things saved in our text replacement. And then every single day, we also have people say stuff that you're like, I don't have a text replacement for that. Like I got to type that out. That's part of what we do. And so I absolutely love that. And that's like a big, like, I love that you said, like, I give them the answer, but then I also give them where I found the answer. And it's just like you said, they don't know that they can go to their website and get all the products and the ingredient information. Like they just, you're not born knowing how to do that. So like, remember what it was like when you were there. But I absolutely love all of those things you just said, guys. I hope you guys wrote those all down, because I wrote those all down. I am also super on top of like my new distributors, and of course my clipboard just like fell apart, but I do the same thing. I have a list and I sign a crap load of distributors. You guys know that. So I literally write down all my new distributors. I write down their name, what day they joined, and then I have like their ID number right there in case I need to look it up. And every single morning I'm waking up and I'm going through and I'm saying, hey, how's it going? Can we get up another post today? How's messaging? Do you have a message that you're sending out? You know, all these different things. So I think that's awesome. And all of these tips were so good. Do you guys have any questions for Allie? I'll give you guys like a minute to like put them in the chat if you have them. And then I'll kind of let Allie, I don't know if you have any last minute wisdom. We have a lot of people on here who are like 300 to like 1,000 from maintaining, and then we have a lot of people on here who are like 300 to 1,000 from promoting. So I've got like all of these girls who are on here are like, just this stinking close. And we're at the end of, obviously, we're at the end of the month. Last day of the month is Friday. So I didn't know if you had any, you're going to pull out a little red for us, give us some end of the month mojo as leaders and just like as distributors, the things that we can do to kind of just like end the month strong.
For sure. So do you have, I might go over, I'm sorry. Once I start talking, I kind of talk a lot. There's so many different things with the end of the month that I'm going to give it all to you. I'm sorry. First of all, I love that Cheyenne Knox says that. She's like, there is no number too big if your belief is strong enough. And it's just so true, you guys. When I went diamond, I needed over 1,000 BV on the last day of the month. The last day. And we pulled it in, okay? I remember when I went ruby, I think I needed like 348 hours. And guys, when I went ruby, I was getting like 5 LCs a month. It wasn't like I was some crazy mass enroller when I went ruby. And all of a sudden, these LCs came out of nowhere because I was like, I'm going ruby. Make a decision and make it happen. Don't look left, don't look right, don't worry about what your team is and isn't doing. You can go diamond on your own. Obviously, it's better with a team, but if you're stressed over this person's not doing that and this person's not enrolling, you're not enrolling either because you're too busy complaining about what they are and aren't doing. Like, you can pull in that volume yourself 1,000% when you just decide to do it. Are you following up? Are you calling people? Like, call your potentials. Be like, hey, it's me. Let's get your order in. Do it. Get out of your comfort zone. Like, are you getting out of your comfort zone? Or are you just like, oh, I'm messaging and no one's answering me. I'm getting a post, but like ask anyone and everyone for tips and do what they say. Like, I don't call people, but guess what? When I needed volume, I was calling people, and don't think it out. Like, don't think about what you're going to say. Literally just call them. And when they pick up, just be like, hey, it's me. Like, let's do this. You know what I mean? And like, just hearing your voice, so many people are like, okay, use the fact that you're pushing for a promotion. Like, people want to help people, and that's why I think it's really important. Obviously, it's the end of the month, but always brand your promotion, because I had a girl going diamond, and literally almost every day I was talking about, like, oh my gosh, I have this girl on my team going diamond. She's going to be able to stay home with her baby, all of this stuff. I texted a current LC and was like, hey, one of my girls is super close to a promotion. She literally needs like $40 in sales. Would you be able to order a cleanse? And she was like, oh my gosh, I've been seeing your posts. Like, I would love to help in any way I can. And she ordered a cleanse, and the girl went diamond. Like, but if people don't know what you're pushing for, it's hard for you to all of a sudden just be like, hey, I'm pushing for this. I need your help. Because they're like, well, you haven't been talking about it. So that's just something to keep in mind for the future if you haven't already done that. But offer people free samples, guys. People will do anything for free samples.
I literally have like buckets of greens on the go, y'all. Like, use my greens on the go. I have hydrate. I actually have like bags of coffee right now too. Normally I don't, but we're at the end of the month. Like, if you're listening to her say that and you're like, I don't have samples, like, I have freaking samples. Please use them.
Like, there are so many things. Like, get creative. Ask your current LCs for referrals. I have a message. I can actually send it to Hope, but it's like, hey, like, so excited for you to do your 90-day challenge. Like, do you know 10 people who would want to do this with you, essentially? And like, you offer them free samples for referring people. I can send you the message. Perk points. Perk points are huge. And I got this from someone on a Zoom. And I used to be like, hey, you have this much in product credit. Now I say like, hey, I have 3 $10 coupons and I just pulled your name out. Like, I'm so excited. Do you want it? Like, do you want it? Again, I can send you the wording, but I got so many last month from it. I brought in so much volume. And say someone has like 13 perk points. I say you have $10. Say someone has 18. I say you have $15. Say someone has anything over 20. I say you have $20. And then when they say yes, I just say, awesome. What's your password? I'll log in and process that for you, hassle free. no one questions it. And then that way you can just type in the perk points and they're not like, wait, but it says I have 18 and you said I have 15. You know what I mean? It takes like the confusion out of it. Because you still want to make sure you're getting BV, and with perk points it lessens the BV. So I always try to see like how much they have, and I try to do like the lower end, or I'll say like you can get $20 off of one of our weight loss packs, or like off of a skincare pack, and I'll do like cleanser, toner, and peel or something like that. Like, get creative. Go live about everything. Go live about your story. Go live about your favorite products. Every time I go live, my inbox is flooding with stuff. I did one like putting a wrap on today, and then I did like a cute boomerang where I'm literally just like lifting up my shirt, like, and the wrap is there. You know what I mean? Like drinking my water. Like, this is how easy it is. And then I posted my results. Like, get creative. Be willing to get out of your comfort zone and be willing to just go ham. Like, I always say, like, I don't necessarily believe in sacrificing sleep. I think if you're sleep deprived, you're not going to be working to the best of your ability. But from the 25th to the last day of the month, I don't care. And I'm the person, like, I love my sleep. I get like 7 to 8 hours of sleep every single night because I need my sleep. No. Like, the 25th to the last day of the month, you can stay up an hour later, get up an hour earlier if you're serious about your promotion or you're serious about maintaining, because I can promise you when prelims come out, you will not regret losing your sleep. And at the end of the day, do not go to sleep if you feel like there's more that can be done. The only time you should go to bed is when you're like, okay, like, I followed up with every single person in my phone. Like, I posted, I added to my story every single hour. I got up 15, 30, 50 host posts today. Like, that's when you can go to sleep, when you feel like you got enough work done. But guys, like, there's so much time left in the month, and I know it doesn't feel like it, but there is. You just have to keep pushing. And I'm going to end with this because I had a huge aha moment, and I just want to share this with the world because I think it's so good. Me and Jesse went kayaking the other day, right? And I actually had 2 aha moments, so I'm going to give them both and then I'll stop talking. The first one was we had to get a double kayak, right? And I told him from the beginning, I was like, no, we need single kayaks. If we're in a double, we're going to break up. Like, I can't do it. Like, I did it with my sister one time, and we almost like pushed each other into a waterfall. Like, it was not okay. So we get there, and there's only double kayaks left. And I'm like, well, we drove 2.5 hours. Like, we're going kayaking. We got a double kayak. We get in, and we're both paddling, and we're like hitting each other's paddles, right? And I'm like, I was trying to keep it cool. I'm like, it's fine. Like, we're here to have a good time. Like, I can be kind of high strung, you guys. So then all of a sudden we're like, okay, like, we need to figure this out, and like, we need to go at the same time. So we literally sounded, he was like joking that we sounded like Vikings because we're like left, right, like, but then all of a sudden we went from like kind of like moving, like going in circles, to we're like zooming, right? Because we're on the same page. Are you on the same page as your team? Does your team know where you're going? Right? If your team doesn't know where you're going, if they don't know, like, every time I've promoted, not every time, but I knew, and this is the yellow in me, so some people it wouldn't matter, but I knew I was on someone's chart and they were promoting. And I knew that if I promoted, then they would promote, and it just motivated me to push that much harder. So don't be afraid to like ask for help and let them know you need them. You know what I mean? If you're promoting with the dead chart, forget what I just said, go ham, do it yourself, replace them next month. But you know what I mean? Like, if you have people pushing for Emerald, like, do they know that they're going Emerald? Do they know that they're going Ruby? Like, do they know? Because when you're all on the same page, that's when the magic happens. You know, like, there were like boats and stuff, right? In my head, I'm like, we're going left. In his head, we're going right. And now we're just going straight for the boat. And I'm like, well, this is not good, right? But then when we like just communicated with each other, like, okay, go to the left. We were like weaving in and out of places, and we were like unstoppable, right? Same thing with your team. Make sure you have open communication with them, and you're always talking to them. They know their charts. They know what they need every single day. They know what they need to enroll. That is going to make all the difference, because if you don't know what you need or where you're going, you're never going to get there. My second aha moment is when we were coming back. We were already kayaking for like 2 hours. We went swimming. We're freaking tired, right? And we're going down this little canal, and it's like, oh, cool, like paddling along. And then we get out into the open water where it's choppy as heck. There's like wakes and all this stuff, right? So we're paddling, and then I'm like, oh, I'm just going to like coast for a little bit and let Jesse paddle. And then I'm paddling and he's like, oh, I'm going to stop. And then I'm paddling and he's paddling. And then we both stop because we're like, oh, we're tired. We're just going to coast and then we'll start again. And he goes, every time we stop, it's that much harder to get going again. And I was literally like, we're freaking kayaking. And I'm having so many aha moments about my business. And it's the same thing with your business, guys. It doesn't matter how tired you are. It doesn't matter how defeated you feel right now. You have to keep paddling. You just have to keep going, because every time you slow down, every time you stop, every time you take a day off, it's that much harder to get to where you want to be. And it, like, I love Kelsey Thornton. She has a bad day list. Have a bad day list. So on your worst day, what is the bare minimum that you're going to get done, that you still feel productive, right? But you can't stop paddling, because the second you're building the momentum, right? Like, you're going crazy, you're paddling, you're like keeping up with the motorboats. Not really, we're not that strong, right? But then you stop paddling and you start coasting. The second you start coasting is when your business starts to plummet, right? And then you start paddling, and then you're just like, now you're kind of evening out again. And then it's really hard to get back to where you were. When you have the momentum, do not slow down. It's so easy to get comfortable. It's so easy to just say, well, I'm going to go like, why can't I think of the word? Like, binge watch. Like, I'm going to go binge watch this show or whatever. Like, I'm going to take a day off. But then the next day, you're like, well, I want to finish the show. Or like, oh, well, I don't really feel like doing it. Like, success isn't doing like these crazy extravagant things. It's literally doing little things consistently. If you haven't listened to the compound effect, you have to listen to it. So many aha moments, guys. Like, I'm sorry, like that kayaking thing, like, I'm just going to shout it from the rooftops, because I was like, holy crap, who knew kayaking?
So that's
just
one,
like
so I can't remember who said, I think it was Ashley Mayfield. She said, every time you stop, you disqualify yourself. And that's something that's been really sticking with me. So I love that. And it's just so true. It's like momentum is all about consistency. Momentum is all about, like, just, the definition of momentum is like, it doesn't stop moving. Like, that's what you want in your business. And so I freaking love that. And Crystal said she went hiking today and she was walking uphill and she stopped and she had the same aha moment of like, oh my God, once you stop moving, it's so much harder to start moving again.
Yeah. And you can't wait for momentum to happen. You have to create it. And as leaders, it is your job to create the momentum for your team. And don't expect it to happen overnight. Just because you're killing it one day doesn't mean all of a sudden your team's going to kill it. And this is something else. In one of the books I've been listening to, if you're at 100%, your team's going to be at about 80%. But if you're at 50%, your team's going to be at about 20%. So take a look in the mirror and see what percent you're at, and then you really can't complain about where your team's at, because you lead from the front. You set the pace for your team. So if you're trying to go triple diamond in 90 days, like, you need to act like a triple diamond right now, every single day. All right.
I love it. No, oh my God, Allie, that was so good. Thank you so much. That was seriously incredible. Like, I appreciate you so much. I'm going to stop